morning, everybody, and welcome to the Life Together video podcast, a podcast where we'll be discussing topics as varied as life itself. Life is messy, life is beautiful. Let's talk about it. I'm your host, Eric Henninger, and we have taken a 2-week break due to some really fun musicals I co-write and co-direct every summer. If you missed it, you're not one of the cool kids. Sorry, Todd.
Yeah, I know. But I knew you'd record it, so I knew that,
Indeed.
In spite of the overtime I had to work,
Whatever.
which was a blast. Yeah, I know.
Quit your job, man. Come to my shows.
Would have been more fun, for sure.
Indeed. Well, I am sitting here with Todd Bagley, good friend and fellow thespian of mine. Is that the right word?
It's an appropriate word. It's not as common as it once was, maybe back in the early 20th century, but
I dated
it's
myself.
okay. No, it's okay. It's all right. They still use it in England, so it's fine.
Where everything's still cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Where they read Shakespeare.
Yes.
I don't read
indeed.
Shakespeare, so I can't really knock on it. Tennessee Williams is more my bag.
Gotcha. Yeah, I managed to get through theater school without Shakespeare. I don't know how I did that.
Because you went to Asbury, like I did.
Well, my first year there, they were doing Hamlet. I think it was Hamlet.
Okay.
It might not have been.
Was it Macbeth?
No. Shh. Or can we only not say that in a theater?
I don't know that.
Todd has cursed our podcast. What are we going to do?
I don't know that gag. All I know is there will be no scripts on the night.
Yes, there will not be. That goes for everyone. It'll ruin the illusion, and the whole thing is illusion. You, sir, are not Hamlet. I just totally went off the rails there.
That's all right.
Anyway, so Todd and I are going to be talking about auditioning. And there's a lot of things that overlap between auditioning for film and auditioning for theater. We're both performers, both actors. And I feel like, and we've talked about this, that this instruction in how to audition is kind of lacking in a lot of ways. And I see it every time I host an audition for a project. How many poor people are so frightened and they don't know how to do it, and then it becomes hard for the directors and producers to get a feel for their actual ability to perform.
I agree, man. I think a lot of it is until you get an amount of experience to where you sort of decide that I don't need to take this as seriously as I've been taught to take it. I need to take my work and my preparation very seriously, but as far as the process and whatnot of auditioning, it really comes down to this: knowing that who you're in the room with wants you to be great. They're pulling for you. They're not there to critique you in such a way in a cynical sort of way, like, oh, I can't wait for this guy to screw up.
This is gonna suck.
Right. It's like, I hope you're the person I'm looking for. So
right.
It's more about, people worry a lot about talent, which is just natural for what we do, but I think that as always, having been on the other side of the casting table with you as well, you're looking for the right fit.
Yeah.
And you're either the right fit or you're not, but you're not really taught that. You're taught to, now when you walk in there, it's going to be serious. And you better be serious, and you better be prepared. You better memorize everything, but you better have the script in your hand too, just in case. Just in case you memorized everything but didn't memorize everything. You better have that script in your hand. And they're going to be very serious. They may not talk to you. They may have you come in. They'll tell you where to stand. There may or may not be a camera. There may be 40 people in there. There may be one person in there. We don't know. But you better be perfect. And that's just not true. It's not true at all.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. And and like you said, you should be prepared. Do take your art seriously. Take your craft seriously. Don't show up unprepared without any idea of what the side is about, or at least what the script is about. I mean, most of those things you can get a hold of, ahead of time.
Yeah.
And
if you're working with someone really professional, they're going to send you outside. Unless they want to do a cold read, which is when you walk in and they hand you something and they just want to see what you do. But that's not I think that's more major market cities. That probably would be done if you're in New York, Chicago, L.A.
Right. Yeah, I think so. And we've done that too with the last project we worked on together. We did cold reads. We had sides available at the audition. Now, nobody should ever, just as far as cold reads go, nobody should ever just go, here, perform Dancing Monkey. You should have some time with that side to kind of ingest it and begin to understand and formulate the appropriate questions to ask if you need to. What happened right before this scene that I'm reading? Things like that. Don't ask about character choices. You need to make those.
Right. What do you think he would do right here? What would she do right here? That's for you to decide. Don't let them make the decisions for you as far as what your instincts are going to be. You got to trust yourself. And but I mean, you're right. And if they don't offer sides up front, ask for them. That's okay.
Yeah.
And if they say no, then you have every right to turn around and walk out if you want.
Right, or flounder.
Yeah, or flounder.
That's also an option. I think that one of the things that throws so many people off is that auditions are kind of set up to be an intimidating process. I know when we do auditions, we do what we can to make it as chilled out and laid back and comfortable as possible. But there's still a camera, there's still 2 or 3 people in the room, and people are making notes as you act. So it is, even with our best intentions to make it relaxed, it still can be frightening and intimidating. What works for you to kind of move past that?
I think you have to remind yourself of the fact that the reason you're doing it is because you believe you can do it. So there's that confidence that you have to tap into. And I don't know, there's just something in me, I don't know if it works this way with you or not, but I have this moment before, sometimes as soon as I get the email for the side or, right before I walk into the audition room, where I have this thing just turns on and I'm just like, this is it. It's sort of like, it's kind of like you've got the anticipation of being on the roller coaster. And you sit down, you're strapped up, and then you're moving, and then you go up to the first hill, and you hear the click, 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 and then you drop, and everybody's screaming, okay? And that's where the adrenaline comes in.
Right.
But in that silence between the click, 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 you have to let go, because you're going downhill. That's what's going to happen. Poor analogy. For as far as going downhill, I don't mean that, but the ride has started. Okay, so you just have to accept it. And I love what Sam Rockwell said. He made the point that there's got to be some sort of a decision that you make where you go in and you just say, here's what I'm going to do. I know my interpretation of the character.
Yeah.
If whoever I'm auditioning for doesn't like it, screw it. Not screw them, but screw it. I'm going to send out my interpretation. If that's what they want to work with, then great. We know we'll want to work well. If not, then it's probably a good thing, because you may not work as well together and the project would suffer, and it'd be something you're not proud of, that you don't really want your friends and family to see, except your grandma. If she's still kicking, she'll be proud of whatever it is you do.
She's always supportive, regardless of what you do. And on that too, when you go into an audition and you do want to come in with a very specific way that you're going to play this character, a good director or a good casting director will give you notes and will ask you to do something different to see if you can shift gears, to see if you can take direction. And you need to be able to do that. Don't marry yourself so much to what you've done. Be able to be free and to be... to like I just said, shift gears. A friend of mine in LA told me a story that he was like judging this little acting competition thing. I'm not really sure exactly what it was, but this one girl came in and her line was something like, "That really hurt and I'm angry," or something like this. And so she comes in and she says, "That really hurt and I am so angry." And he's like, "Okay, sweetie, that's good. That's good. Let's do it again, but I don't want you to yell. I want you to play it more hurt, like an internal, and less aggressive,
Yeah.
outward kind of stuff. And so she's like, okay, that really hurt it. I'm so angry.
She got louder.
Yeah, and so he's like, okay.
You're booked. No.
Yeah, that's how you land an audition. So he gives her the note again, and she does it the same way again with a little bit more of the wrong intensity. And so he finally says to her, he goes, sweetie, I've asked you to do this differently 3 different times, and you've given me the opposite of what I'm asking you to do each time. And she said, this is how I rehearsed it. I'm sorry, that's all I got. Well, there's somebody that's not getting a gig. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would.
I'll
never
keep you in
cast
mind
that.
for future projects.
Yeah. Like for people that I don't like, and I want to send you their way.
Right.
You know?
Oh, you know who was solid? That idiot. That
I wouldn't even audition. I would just cast her. Do that. But so when you come in, you've got to be able to think on your feet, and directors want to know that you can do that, because when you get on set or even on stage, there's certain elemental things that will change and shift and they'll ask you to do something that maybe you wasn't in your initial preparation. So you got to be confident enough in your ability to be able to kind of roll with it, and fly by the seat of your pants if necessary.
Yeah, which is a great thing, because instead of taking the position and the thought of what are they going to ask me to do? I don't know. I don't like to be surprised. I'd rather have an idea of what I'm going to do. Don't think of it that way. Think of it instead, and I know this benefits you too, because we've talked about, think of it instead of, what do I get to do? What else do they want me to do? Because if when I've played casting director and we've cast things, we always, I know, ask people to do 1 or 2 other things just to see, but a lot of casting directors won't, and so you don't necessarily you've not necessarily messed up in the sense of, well, they didn't ask me to do anything else, so they didn't like me. Not necessarily. If they have a high volume of people coming through in the day and they're really booked, they have to get you out. They have to be efficient. But if they do ask you to do other things, that's a positive. Especially if it's a smaller project, if it's a lower budget project. If they ask you to do more, they want to see more. They want to give you a chance to do better, so you get to do that. And remember, when it all started with theater, long before film, with theater, it's like you saw Finding Neverland.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp. Remember that scene between he and Dustin Hoffman, and Depp's character J.M. Barrie. He was working on Peter Pan, and he said, the critics had just panned his last play. I mean, they shredded it, and they lost a lot of money. And he and Dustin Hoffman were discussing it, and Hoffman said, "You know what? What do they call it?" He said, "What? A play?" He said, "Exactly. Critics made it so serious, but it's called a play. We should be playing." And so you get to play, you get to experiment, and that needs to be your perspective, as opposed to there's nothing to be afraid of. If they won't create an environment where it's safe to fail, then you don't want to work with them anyway, because they'll end up telling you how to say your lines, where to move your hand exactly when you say this, which can be okay. Sometimes it's necessary, but generally speaking, that's not fun.
And some directors like to do that. I don't like that style so much, because you're dealing with, I think as actors, you're dealing with artists. I mean, directors are artists too, on a different end of the spectrum. But actors, I think, function better when they're able to discover those things for themselves. So I feel like a good director won't be, say it like this, but they'll be, try it with a little less, anger and a little bit more internal hurt, and to hold it back.
Right.
You gave a note to a gal that we did an audition with a couple years ago when we were working on your short film Bladon, and you said to her, it was kind of your note. You're like, I want you to hold it all in. I want it to feel like it's just getting ready to explode, but you're not. But you're in control.
Yeah.
And then you said, and then make a real bold choice. And it was a great note because you didn't say, do it like this.
Right.
Da, 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 da. You know,
Right.
you explained what you wanted and then left room for her artistic interpretation
Right.
and her own creativity. And then she slapped the fire out of the guy reading.
I was wondering if that's what happened. So maybe that wasn't as good of a note because not all actors can be handled in the same way. So I could have given that note to probably 2 million other actresses, and they would never have hit the poor boy.
And it wasn't like a
holding
stage
it-
slap either. I mean, she slapped him.
She popped the guy, and he's such a great guy, Zach Hightower. Great guy, great to work with, just a great human being, hilarious, professional, always prepared. But he was a real sport. He didn't hit her back,
Which is good.
which is phenomenal.
Lawsuits waiting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But when you get hit, your initial instinct is, to come back. But he was so taken aback. I don't think he'd ever been slapped. Probably never before.
Not unexpectedly.
Yeah,
For
right.
sure. We worked on a project together where he did get slapped a couple times, but it was scripted, and he knew it was coming. So, just as a side note, you shouldn't hit people in general unless, like, you've worked it out with them. If she had said, "Hey, listen, I'm really feeling like I want to smack you. Are you okay with that?"
Right.
Then at least he has an idea. But his reaction was pure gold because
It's great that we recorded it. I mean,
and she was a good actress. It wasn't like she
solid,
was a
yeah.
bad actress. It was just she made a bold choice. She did exactly what she was asked to do. But it probably just wasn't the wisest
right.
bold choice.
But we've said every time now since we've auditioned anyone, now don't hit anybody.
That's true. We have said that
So
every
it's
time.
been probably definitely more valuable for us than it was for Zach.
Yes, definitely poor. It was an afterthought after Zach got his glasses knocked off his face. But
And she didn't get the part.
yeah,
She was great. We were actually torn, okay? Because if she sees this, she'll know exactly who she is. She's great.
was
I
a
do
great
have you in
audition.
mind for a project that I'm working on, by the way. So,
keep that in mind.
but if you hit anybody,
It's over. You'll never work in this town again.
yeah, you'll never work in Kentucky again, ever.
No.
There goes my career.
What do I do with that now? What am I supposed to do? Where do I go? Where else can I go act?
What's in Tennessee?
Kentucky's a hotbed for acting. Although it has been getting a little bit better.
There's a
over
lot.
the years,
There
yeah.
really, seriously, there's a lot of great stuff here, especially in Louisville, and I think Lexington is trying to pick up.
Yeah.
But no matter what state you're in, you can be in a completely terrible horror movie every night of the week in a completely different project to
Yeah.
where they'll put, hamburger on your face and think literally and consider that gore. Because, I mean, let's be honest, 5 pounds of ground chuck is cheaper than 3 or 4 bottles of Karo syrup. Okay.
That's true.
That's independent filmmaking, baby. That's how it is. It's not like on the West Coast
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
where everyone has a trust fund to pull from.
Everybody. Hey, wait a minute. I know people on the West Coast. I'm going to call them when it's a good hour.
That Batman watch.
Isn't that cool?
You need to show them. This is nothing to auditioning. I'm sorry. We
Yeah.
tend to be that way. That is
Pretty cool.
incredible.
We're going to get sued, but I'm just kidding.
Who'd you hit in the mouth for that?
My mom.
You did? Well,
Yeah.
she probably provoked it.
Yeah.
In an audition.
She had it coming.
Oh.
She had it coming. No, she sent it home with my son. I love it. That's why I wear it all the time. But yeah, so those are really good notes. I mean, even when you have a really strong audition, like in this case that we're discussing, we ended up casting another young lady for the role. However, it wasn't because necessarily she was also a strong actress. So it was
Yeah.
kind of like
She wasn't more talented. It wasn't a talent thing.
Yeah.
It was a fit thing.
it was apples to apples.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's what directors are looking at. It's not just who's the most talented, it's who fits the role that we're trying to cast, who has the look that we're seeing in our head when we're envisioning our project.
The look for the relationship.
Right.
Let me be careful
Not
about
who's
that.
more attractive.
Right.
But
Because we've had really beautiful models come in and audition,
God,
and
I love my life.
yeah, it can be. And that's a perk. That's okay. They're nice to look at, but they've been terrible, and so it's awful. It's god awful. I would rather a lady come in and be the spitting image of me, which I'm not really a pretty lady. I did dress up as an 80s hairband guy for Halloween one year.
Sweet.
I still wasn't attractive, but I was trying the best I could.
And that's all you can do, really.
Yeah, it's just I don't have the bone structure. But anyway, I'd rather someone come in and not be very attractive at all and be talented, because I would want to squeeze them in somewhere. But chemistry is what we were looking for. Back to life, back to reality.
Yeah.
We can't sing it here for other reasons. But anyway, regardless, what we did was Eric was the lead, and so we were casting for that primary relationship, and so we were looking for the chemistry. What's most believable about a pairing with him? Which young lady seems just to be more believable, and more appropriate how you guys bounce off each other. So it's I say all that because when you go into an audition, that's another thing they're looking for. They want chemistry, and so again, it's about fit. Don't take it as about talent.
Right, and I think that just kind of helps. That helps me. I know when I leave an audition, I have a very specific look. In case you didn't notice,
Me too.
so you've got to know what kind of roles you're gonna more likely than not be considered for versus what roles you're not. And even if you don't get cast, I think as performers we can be real sensitive human beings, and we like to take things personally. But there's so many subjective things in play in an audition. So if you don't get a role, it's not that you suck or that you shouldn't act. It just wasn't the right fit for that role. And hopefully, if you do suck, you've got people in your life that are positively giving you constructive criticism as to how to get better.
Yeah, and that's why it is imperative to take a class. Even if it's just one class, to get a feel for how you work with people, and how they are able to work off of you. Someone will be there and be objective enough to let you know where your strengths are, and then also where you have opportunities for improvement, because, to use the corporate word for where you need work. And even an acting tutor or coach will do that for you and really dig into you.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if you're paying someone consistently to work with you, and it's just like one-on-one, then they'll probably work with you for as long as you're willing to work with them and pay them. Now, if it's a class, the class has a time frame, and so it'll be over. I'm going to recommend that. Well, it's never happened to me where someone's done that to me at all, but I've heard of it happening, and I would do that if I were the coach.
Yeah, and when you're in a class,
not really.
I would do that if I was. When you're in a class setting,
sorry, serious.
We have such a good time when we hang out. When you're in that setting, also, I found real quickly that I learned that I was okay at what I was doing because the instructor kept pushing me.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't believe it. Give me more. Are you really upset about this? Are you really excited? Whatever it is, And then I would watch him not say anything to other people, and I was like, well, that's weird. Why isn't he getting on them?
Why doesn't he leave me alone?
And so the good news is that he knew he liked what he was seeing, and that he knew he could get more out of it. And so he spent time on me with that. Whereas this sounds so egotistical, and I don't mean for it to sound this way, but there were other people that he didn't feel were worth the extra investment as far as talent. There wasn't enough pool of talent there to develop in a short class
Yeah.
period. That sounds so mean.
No. But it's the truth. I mean, it's just like you don't, if you have a basketball team, you got your starting five.
Yeah.
And you've got your sixth man that is going to come in, or sixth lady if it's WNBA.
Fair enough.
Because ladies can play. I mean, most anyone's better than I am. I don't run like I used to. Got a bad back. I hit 30, and well,
it's all downhill from
that's
there.
how it goes. Anyway,
or uphill.
Neither here nor
It's
there.
It's uphill because nobody wants to be down.
Exactly. See, I don't know, but uphill's harder. I don't like that metaphor. Downhill, that's fun. That's roller coaster. That's the excitement.
That's right.
What were we talking about? Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh crap, we derailed ourselves.
But this is how we are actually, just naturally. We decided let's not go with a scripted thing for this because we'll figure it out, and we kind of have.
We're good with that.
But I knew we'd get distracted. We're having fun whether people stop watching or not.
That's true.
Yeah, if you're still watching. Oh,
you're one of the cool kids if you're still watching.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, and you're right. You're a director or a coach. They're not going to invest as much time in helping you prepare for an audition or for a role if the natural talent is not there. There are great people that I've worked with that I love very much who just didn't have it naturally. And they worked as hard as they could, and they just they plateaued really quickly. If you plateau really quickly and you're trying to get professional help and there's just not a lot of change, that's a good sign that you should probably do something else. And I want to put that in love the best that I can, because it would be better for you to spend your time and put your passion or your time toward another passion, because there's never just one passion in life.
Right.
And if you go to audition after audition after audition after audition, and you're not in New York, LA, Chicago, and you're in a smaller market, say you're in Nashville, or Louisville, and you never get anything, it might be a hint. And so you need someone objectively to be in your life and love on you and say, we can prepare as much as we can for this audition, but you're not getting roles. And so I hate to be solemn there, but in a loving way, that's just the truth.
Yeah, I totally agreed. And I think a lot of it is being very self-aware. For example, I love to sing. I love it. I am horrible at it.
I don't think you're that bad. I knew you were going to say that. I really don't.
But it's not my biggest strength.
But you got this great Ja Rule thing that you can do.
I don't know what that means.
Well, Ja Rule, he's got this great gravelly voice.
Oh yeah.
And he's not a singer, but you're not tone deaf. See, that's what you don't understand. You're not tone deaf, and but he is, and he's made millions of bucks on it.
But he is tone deaf.
But he's got a great voice.
What am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
But I guess I say that I'm obviously always more self-deprecating than is probably completely necessary or warranted. I'm myself.
Well, it's good. You're truly a humble guy, though. That's the thing.
But thank you.
It's a fact.
I
know that because I'm not, and there's nothing in you that I recognize that it's in myself.
Except talent.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. But I say that to say this. I know where my strengths are and where my weakness is maybe too strong of a word, but I know where I'm gifted and where I'm less gifted.
So you're not going to go audition for a musical,
right?
Yeah.
I did once. I know you know this story. I was at Asbury, and I thought I'm just going to go audition for a musical. It's okay to stretch yourself. It's okay to put yourself out of your comfort zone. That's a positive thing. And I thought, I'm going to do this. I got a role. The first thing I auditioned for at Asbury, I got a role in this short film for the department. And I was really excited. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to go audition for this musical. And I'm like, what do you sing? Like, what am I supposed to sing for this musical? So I had a great idea. I was going to sing Johnny Cash's Daddy Sang Bass.
Yes.
And I had a monologue prepared, and I was feeling pretty good. I'm like, this is good. I feel a little too confident, I think, on a certain level. So I'm in the holding room, and I hear somebody in there belting some amazing, like, Broadway musical number, and I headed for the door. I'm like, nope. There's no way I even stand a chance. And a friend of mine, fortunately, jumped in my way, and she was like, you're going to do this. because it's going to be good for you, regardless of
Yeah.
whether you get a role or not. So I did. I went in there. They wanted me to start with the musical piece, and I was like, "All right." The accompanist asked me for music, and I said to her, "I said, sweetie, you can't do anything to help this." And so I started into my little bit. I remember when I was letting right, and the director and his assistant director were sitting there, and I felt like they were laughing at me because it was a horrible selection for a musical audition, but it was in my range. But they're like, they're like having fun, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And so I did the monologue. The monologue I thought went really, really well. I left, and I'm like, there's no way that I'm gonna get a part in this musical. So the next day, just because you have to, I went and checked the callback list. And my name wasn't on there. I'm like, that. Still disappointed, even though I kind of knew that was coming. I was like, because there's always this hope that you're better at something than you think you are.
Right.
But it was confirmation that I am not, in fact. And so I put my headphones in and I start walking across campus. The director chases me down, apparently, and he's like, dude, I've been calling after you for like 5 minutes and you're just walking so fast. I'm like, oh, sorry. What did you need? He goes, we've got a role in this thing for you, and we need somebody that is expressive and is physical and can act with their body and their face. There's no singing, and there's no lines.
Dream role.
Yeah, perfect.
What a favor you're doing for me.
So I was like, so let me get this straight. I auditioned for a musical and got cast as the mute. What does that? What does that tell me? But the point of that story is, I guess, that I went in knowing knowing that my strength was in the monologue, not in the song. But
Yeah.
you got to be self-aware of where your strengths are, because when you know where your strengths are, then you're making a wise investment of your time into developing those things, instead of spinning your wheels to do something that there's not enough of a bed of natural ability to really make it a reality.
Right.
I'll never be a Grammy-nominated singer, regardless of how hard I work. And that's okay. And that it's not a sad thing or a self-deprecating thing. I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
I'm not a good dancer. I'm down with all of this stuff. That's okay. But you got to know that. You got to know that. And you got to be willing sometimes to hear, even in a loving way, Nate, creative criticism or constructive criticism is tough to hear sometimes when it's not positive. It's, well, this isn't so good. Yeah. But you got to be willing to hear that.
And not everyone is warm with what they do. I mean, for me, it's annoying for someone to say, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. That's not helpful to me.
Right.
But we had that same professor who knows his stuff.
Yeah.
He knew quickly he couldn't. It didn't work well with me to speak with me that way. I didn't get angry with him or anything. Jeff.
Todd lit the theater on fire.
Right. Oh yeah.
This is what you get.
Do you believe this? Yeah. No.
That's not
true. It's Jeff Day. He was our professor at Asbury. Solid guy. Knows what he's doing. He's one of those folks that, if I had a major role, I would try to track him down and say, dude, I need to run some things by you if you have some time, and he would do it. But he knows, and any great director knows, that not every actor can be handled the same way. But when you go to a casting, to an audition, when you go to an audition, you'll probably, the vast majority of the time, unless you come to an audition with Eric and I, or unless you go to an audition where someone is also an actor, and they're casting like a comedy, they're going to be pretty serious, and they're going to be very, they're going to be kind of uptight. Just kind of prepare for that, but don't take it personally. But it's going to feel a lot like you're looking at a wall that has eyes that's looking back at you. You're not going to get much of a response, but you're being stared at,
right,
and critiqued, and that's just the nature of it. That's how it is. It's just like, it's a job interview is exactly what it is. And you have your resume, you've got your headshot.
Hopefully.
Yes,
you should.
Do have a resume and headshot. I guess we probably should have mentioned that sooner.
We'll come to it. We'll get to it.
I would think that would. I shouldn't take for granted that that's common sense, but you always need to be prepared and look like your headshot.
Oh my gosh, yes, that is so important. Have mercy. I was watching the show Entourage recently, and one of the characters in there had like a 15-year-old headshot, and the and it was certainly a delusion of his own appearance. He didn't realize he was almost 40 in his own, in his own mind, and his headshot was from like when he was 20, almost
Right.
20 something, and so the producers are like, Johnny, what is
Johnny
this?
Drama?
Yeah, yeah. It's like that's my headshot. This doesn't even look like you, man. And it is important. If
Yeah.
they see your headshot and you don't look anything like that, that's especially if it's a situation where you're sending your headshot in ahead of yourself, which happens sometimes, not often, but sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what you were saying about the auditioning thing. Well, the other thing to remember too is that it's the first time you've walked into the room, but you might be the 10th, 15th, 20th, 100th person that they've seen that day. So they're tired, so don't take their actions personally. You can't let that affect what you're coming in there to do.
If you believe in that project, then you'll still put that effort forth. And I'll tell you this, though. I'm sure you have a lot of great audition stories as well. I have one. I went to this audition. It was for a feature film that was about like a $2 million budget. So it was, for this area, especially like serious. That's a lot of money.
That's and a paying gig.
And a paying gig, yeah.
So that's good.
Say one line, $125.
Boom, baby.
I'm there. I was there for 4 hours. Sweet. I'll never make $25 an hour doing anything else.
Fair enough.
Well, but a lot of friends of mine, the majority of the cast and crew were friends of mine. I knew it would be a fun project, and I knew there would be, they were auditioning for a smaller supporting role, but I wanted to get there, want to be on the radar, and I would be able to meet some, I hate to put it, make new friends is what I would rather say than, make connections and expand, broaden my network. I that feels ulterior, like an ulterior motive to me. It feels sleazy. Yeah. I want to make friends because you want to work with people you like.
Yeah.
And they will want to work. It's like the best thing I ever learned from Jeff Day was people want to work with people they like. Makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
But anyhow, but I was in that audition, and there were friends of mine. I was reading with a friend of mine. A friend of mine was running the camera. My friend was the director. And then the producer was in there. I think he was also the co-writer. And, I shook hands. Hey, how you doing? Knew the other three people in there. And then he came in, and he was kind of just sitting there and hadn't acknowledged me, which is okay. I'm not so sensitive that he didn't even talk to me. But
I'm out.
but I noticed that when the director introduced me, he had his iPad out, which is going to be expected because they're in there a lot. They need to, they're not always as present, especially if they're not actors. And but he's looking, and all he did was, "Hey, how you doing?" And went right back to what he was doing. I'll never audition for any project that he does again. I don't care what the budget is. I don't care unless Gary Oldman is in it. Okay.
It's the week of product placement.
Yes, it is. Although I was smart enough to remove the label here, so we won't get. Are we gonna have to edit all this? Are you gonna have to blur things?
No, I don't think so.
Should we blur both of our faces and just have those deep voices so no one knows who we are? Just put it right here, and then when we move beyond it, like it'll.
Because motion tracking is a pain in the butt, so we don't want to do this.
Yeah.
We just want.
Yeah, but I mentioned that story because. Not to sound like a jerk or arrogant, but I want to see when you audition, you need to pay attention to how professional the people are in the room.
Yeah.
Because if a producer is not interested enough in who's in the room to be cast for their film, guess what? They're an idiot. Why? Well, you're the one that's ponying up the money. You're the one who's put so much into it. It's hard to be a producer. It takes every detail, even if it's a bit part, to me, there are no bit parts. But even if they consider it a bit part, you should be hands-on with everything and locked on. And if you're in a room when they're not doing that, then it's okay for you to turn down the project if they cast you in something. It's okay. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just acknowledging. You continue your thought.
And so, thus the importance of paying attention to who's in the room and how they treat you when you're in there, because that's probably indicative of how you'll be treated on the set, in my experience. And then also, that shows the how imperative it is for you to research the projects and the projects that the directors and the writers and the producers have done before. Also, the actors they're casting. IMDb is your best friend. Facebook is a great friend as well. Research these people, because just because you hear about an audition doesn't mean, oh, it's an audition for a movie. I want to be in a movie. Maybe you don't want to be in that movie.
Yeah.
Objectively speaking, if I may say, if you're a lady and you're auditioning for a horror movie and you're well endowed, fact of the matter, and I mean this professionally, they will, horror conventions, they want to put nudity in for absolutely no reason. You need to research what they've done before, because if nudity's involved and you go in, you're a well endowed, attractive lady, guess what? Guess why you're there? Guess why you're going to get a role? Because they want to see you topless. That's a waste of your time. Okay? Don't do that. Now, if you don't care, then
It's your
good
call.
for you. You can audition for any horror movie and you got a role, but you'll be typecast pretty quick.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Also, I want to kind of move in a slightly different direction.
Back to the real subject.
Back to, away from boobs and more to more. I'm just kidding.
And now to pecs. No.
Yeah, men, the same is true for you. But I know one of the questions that I get asked by students a lot when I'm teaching is, what do you wear to an audition? You know what? Actually, hold on. Let me back up. I do want to talk about that, but I want to hit something else really quick first. Your biggest asset when you walk into an audition is you. Yeah. Todd and I could audition for the same roles, but we have different personalities. Even though we have similar senses of humor and there's reasons we're good friends and get along.
Yeah.
My personality when I walk into a room is different than Todd's personality, and his take on the character is going to be different than my take on the character. So when you walk into a room, you're bringing you. You're ultimately selling yourself and your personality and this idea that I'm going to be fun to work with, as much as you're selling your ability.
Yeah.
To do it, you refer to it as like a job interview.
Yeah.
That's so accurate. That's so accurate. That sounds so much more sterile than it is, but it is a job interview.
It is.
And when I spent my semester in Los Angeles, I heard over and over and over again that people would rather work with somebody that's like a 6-7 on the talent scale, that's a stand-up guy or gal, versus someone who's a 10 and a total dickweed.
Yeah.
I maybe shouldn't have said that.
Can you say that?
I can say whatever I want.
It's your show. I have refrained from profanity,
Yes.
which I know you've probably never been around me this long where I haven't
Only when we're teaching
said
kids.
something. Yeah, I do work there.
Todd's a professional.
I try to. I'm trying to come across as that anyway.
Yeah.
When this is off, then they've seen the unprofessionalism. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we can cuss and say whatever we want. I'll probably take my pants off since it's not in the frame.
Oh, well, yeah, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be distracting for me.
Yeah. Well, the lights are hot.
That's
You
true.
know
And I
how
had to
it
turn
is.
the AC off
Yeah.
for the thing. But be that as it may, people don't want to work with jerks or people that are going to be prima donnas. Be a genuinely nice person. Michael Caine talks about this a lot in his memoirs and in his acting for film.
Great book.
Yes.
Pick it up.
Elephant to Hollywood is the memoirs, and Acting in Film is his film book. And even though I think it was in the 70s that it was published, it's not dated.
Not at all.
Like, it's all
Not
practical stuff that transcends generations.
Yeah. It's Michael Caine. And
Michael
plus you can
Caine.
hear his great voice
Yeah.
like narrating it as you read. I mean, he couldn't be better.
Right. He's one of the... I love Michael Caine.
He's the white Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, good call.
I think that's a pretty good way to say it.
I like that. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
He is. But, one of the things that he says is that it doesn't matter who you are or who you think you are. there's never any room for you to treat other people poorly.
Yeah.
From the lowest man on the totem pole to the top brass on a set, you should be nice to everybody for lots of reasons. Number one, it makes you a decent human being.
Yes.
Which is the most important thing. Number two, that guy, that grip or that PA might be the guy with the money to cast you for his next project. And what you do will linger in his or her mind for the rest of their lives. So be positive. But so when you go into that audition setting, even if you're naturally kind of a shy person, there's a certain level of needing to get out there a little bit. My dog is drinking.
Have you had enough water?
Between him and the turtle.
That's like 30 licks already.
I'm amazed he's just not peeing as it's coming in. It's just like recycling. We'll return after these messages.
36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. Are you done? You want some more water?
Okay.
I was like 80. Like 80 slurps. I'm impressed.
My dog would not be cast because his performance was way too self-indulgent.
Yeah.
Obviously, my PAs aren't here today to wrangle the pets.
Right.
But even if you're a little shy, find a way to kind of come out of yourself just enough to introduce yourself to people, shake hands with people,
Meet people.
Yeah.
Make friends. Don't build connections. Expand your network. Make friends.
Yeah.
Because you can if someone is kissing my rear end, I know it. If someone is just a genuinely nice person, I know that too. Although in all likelihood, my personality is I'll probably have introduced myself to you first. But that's the impression you need to make. And if that's not the impression you give, if the impression is that now some people are really shy and quiet to themselves, perfectly fine, because I've got some great friends who I will say hey, make sure you meet those folks. They're really good. Let me introduce you.
Yeah.
Because it will because you're working within a on that set in and of itself is a network of people, whether it's a play or a film or his cast and crew. Eric's exactly right. That your grip or your whoever's handling just the cinematographer, you're being flexible and being loose between takes. I don't mean terribly unprofessional. You leave that to the guy on set that's like me, and they can decide whether they want to cast me again or not. But it'll all come back to you. Think of it as karma,
Yeah, that's a principle that always holds true. It's a universal principle that karma, you reap what you sow, all that stuff. They're universal principles. So be kind, and when you're talking about making connections, I like that you talked about making friends, meeting new people. I've got a friend of mine who works out in LA and does quite a bit of stuff, and he was talking at one point about making connections, and he said if everybody does that, and that's part of the business, that's part of the networking thing. But he said, like you just did, people know the difference between having their rear end kissed and people that are genuinely interested in them as a human being. Yeah. And then when you do want to solicit somebody to do work for you or whatever, it does really need to be a mutually beneficial situation. Yeah. I know that I could go to Todd at any time, and if he has the availability, we'll work together because we're legitimately friends before we're people that just work together.
Absolutely.
And vice versa. Yeah. Todd can come to me with any project and I would read it. By the way, I have your script that I had done last time, but I forgot to send it with you when we were doing ADR for baggage. So anyways,
that's fine. It's a lot. I mean, it's. Thank you for doing that, and this has nothing to. But because it's a time-consuming thing. If someone's willing to read your script, they are a valuable asset because it's. I mean, my script's only about 60 pages, and but there's a lot of action, so it'll be longer than 60 minutes. But anyway,
65.
65.
Just kidding.
Maybe 68. I've added a scene.
Oh, nice. Well done.